Hello, welcome back to my channel, guys. It's Sam back here with another little fun video. Hopefully it's fun. How are we all doing? Hope you're all doing okay and life's treating you well. Not too bad over here in the northwest of England. It's a little windy and overcast today, but you know, that's fine. Just means that my workroom here, my little workspace, is full of light, which is very conducive to making pretty things, isn't it? So today I thought we would have a look at these little links for a bracelet, and also you can just adapt the link slightly to make beautiful little earrings. Here I've got a little matching set, and here I've got some little teardrop beads. Oops. Hanging off. So it's the same basic design, you just sort of adapt it slightly to accommodate for the earrings. So I'll go through both ways of making these. Aren't they beautiful? Yeah, so let's have a look at what we need to make these little links. Don't know why I've got all these bits appearing on my surface. Never mind, doesn't matter. So for each one of these links you're going to need some 1mm bare copper wire. So you can use bare copper, I use soft, you can use any wire you like actually, as long as you're okay with giving it a little bit of a hammer. I'm going to be hammering and paddling slightly the ends, if you can see there, because it gives it a really nice texture and a really nice look. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. 1mm. If you want to be attaching little beads inside, you're going to need 0.4. Where are you, my 0.4? There you are. So 0.4, I believe that to be 26 gauge. Again, copper wire for me. You're going to need some 6mm beads. So whatever you like. I've used check fire polish beads here, which are very pretty. These are actually from the Check Beads exclusive box, the subscription box. But anything you like, 6mm, or anything that fits in, you know, when you've actually made your little components, just whatever fits in the little hoop loopy thing. What else are you going to need? Some flush cutters, as usual. You're going to need some, what are these called? Remind me, guys, what are these? Menopause brain. Oh yes, chain nose pliers, that's the word I'm looking for. So your favourite chain nose pliers. I'm going to be using my 6-step today. This is a 2 to 9, and I will be using the 2nd step and the 5th step and the 1st step, I think. So we'll go through the sizes of those in a moment. What else are you going to do? I think that's actually it. It's good, isn't it, when you don't need too many materials? So I'll clear the board away, the table, clear the board, clear the table away, and we'll get going. And we'll make these pretty links for bracelets and for earrings. Okay, so I'll see you in a few. And we are back, my friends. And I don't know about you, but making pretty things really helps me to relax, and I feel a bit smiley today because I'm a bit relaxed and I've been making some nice things. So isn't it good for our mental health to create beautiful things with our hands? I think so. So let's make something pretty today, shall we? Let's go ahead and make some links for this beautiful bracelet. Or you can, you know what, you could make that into an absolutely spectacular necklace as well if you wanted to. If you had the patience to make lots and lots and lots of these little links here, beautiful necklace that would make. So let's go for it. So what I do is I take, you know, and cut a few lengths. This bracelet, I'll just measure it for you, and then you know how many links you might need given the length. So without the clasp, this measures 6.5 inches, which is about, oh, somebody's alarm's going off, never mind, 16.5 centimetres. So I've added a clasp, which is about 1.5 centimetres, approximately 3/4 of an inch. So that's about 7.5 inches for me. Okay, and it's taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of these links. All right, so I hope that's, you know, a bit of an indication as to what, you know, to what you need. So I come in and I make 10 pieces of 10 centimetres of your 18 gauge copper wire. or whatever wire it is you're using. Obviously, these are just ideas as always. So I cut off quite a few. There we go, give or take. Like with everything else I do, it's not hugely exact. it's not hugely exact. You know, just whatever, bit of that, bit of this, bit about that length, you know. So let's have a look. So what we want to do is take your length of wire. Now I'm going to be using the 5th step. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Okay, so it's a 7mm mandrel. All right, so hopefully this will pick up okay and not be blurred at all. Right, so you place your wire equidistant and bend your wires around like so. Cross one wire over the other like this, so that you have a nice sort of teardrop shape like so. All right, so okay, there we go. So next thing we want to do now, I would probably go ahead and do all of them all at once like this. I think the reason I do this is because you get into a rhythm of doing things and everything is pretty much exactly the same size and shape. So that's why I do things a bit like a production line, I suppose. So if you wanted to do it that way and do each of the, you know, constituent parts of making these, do them all at the same time. That's what I do anyway. So it's entirely up to you how you do it. So I'll just bob these out of the way for now. All right, so here we have our piece of wire with our loop initially made. So the next thing we want to do is to make these little hoops here. Okay, so I'm taking the 2nd step, which is a 3mm mandrel. I'm placing your plier a couple of millimeters away from the join here, where those wires join. You want to leave a little bit of space because we're going to be bending this around and under. So around, underneath, and then rotate your wire around the plier. And this is the shape that we're looking for. All right, so I'll hold that there for a second. So you want this wire to be straight, and this wire obviously is still off to one side. So that's what we're looking for initially, this shape here. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is do the same with the other side. So again, place your plier so that you've got a little bit of a gap in between the mandrel and the wire. A couple of millimeters should do it, like so. And then we want to bend our wire underneath the piece, okay? So grasp and underneath and rotate the piece around, like so. All right, so that you have this shape here. All right, so you can go ahead and make a few of those like that, however many you need. I'll just do it one more time. So we've got our loop that we used initially. Get your 2nd step. Okay, a couple of millimeters away. Bend your wire around your mandrel, like so, so that the loop here is next to the larger loop with that wire facing straight, like so. Okay, and then we do the same on the other side. So we place our mandrel here and bend underneath everything, like so. So we have 2 loops on either side of the larger loop. All right, so go ahead and make those. Okay, so you've got quite a few. Right, so what we do now is we want to make these little loops here in order to hook over each of the larger loops. All right, so this part here will be the joining part. I'll show you what I mean. I'm probably not making very much sense, which is very common for me. I very rarely make sense. So I'm going to be using my 2mm mandrel. Now I know, because I've made a lot of these, that to measure the distance for this mandrel, it's about 1 centimetre. So if you wanted to be really, really specific, you come in with your ruler, pop your component here, your link here, where these two loops hit the end of the ruler, and then you just want to chop where the 1 centimetre mark is. So just make a mark with your cutters and chop. There we go. So again, I would come in and do that with all of them. Give or take, you know, these things are always give or take, aren't they? You know, it doesn't have to be hugely exact. Now then, where's that mark I made? About there. Yeah. Okay, so just come in and do that. So you've got all of these little pieces. I'll just get those out of the way. Right, so the next thing we want to do is, I class that as the top of my piece and that as the bottom. All right, sorry, wrong way around. That as the bottom, where the two straight pieces here are facing upwards. That's the bottom of the piece. And that's the top of the piece, where these little pieces here, these little pieces of wire here are underneath, if that makes sense, yeah? So if you want to, at this stage, let me just get rid of the dog hair on there because that's not very pleasant. And we come in with our little bench block, which I didn't actually mention that you might need, but you might need a bench block. Where is my hammer? There it is, right in front of me. Well done, Sam. So what I do now is hold the piece at the side of the block, and I'm going to hammer just, not this part, just the loop part. All right, so hold it as best you can, and I'm going to do the hammering now just so you can see. So as you can see, we've got a little bit of flattening. Do it a bit more. If the wire, you know, sort of comes apart a little bit, just use your hands. Hands are great tools, aren't they? Okay, so you can see that we've got a little bit of flattening and a little bit of texture, which I think looks very pretty. I'll just do one more because I just need to show you how to link these together. So bear with me. There we are, let's get rid of that. If things come out of shape just slightly, which they do tend to do sometimes if you are using a hammer and a block, obviously wire does come out of shape slightly sometimes, but that's absolutely fine. These are organic, aren't they? I'm just going to do this off camera because I can't see what I'm doing through the camera, just to try and straighten that up slightly. There you go, that's better. All right, so just straighten things up a little bit. All right, so let's say, for example, you've got 10 of these now. Next thing you want to do is to create the little loops that attach them all together. So at this stage, if you wanted to, you could then come in and get your little beads. Let's have a look if I've got some 6mm. I do. With my pearls as usual. You know, you would attach. I'm not going to do this on camera because it's exhaustive, and you know how to do this. You just attach your pearls in between each one. But when you're attaching your pearls, just make sure you've got a little bit of a gap at the bottom, just enough to, you know, make sure that you've got wire you know, enough space to attach the next little unit, if you will. I hope that makes sense. And I'm not talking too much, of which I'm accused of doing quite a lot. Quite a lot. Right, so you come in with your pliers. Now, can you remember where I called this the top side? The top side is the bit where the wires look underneath. So that's the bottom side. That's the top side. Makes no difference to anybody but yourself, so it's entirely up to you how you want to go about it. The next thing we do is we need to make 2 loops. So place both of your little wires in your plier like so, and just give them a little bend. If they don't do it at the same time, they're being extremely naughty. All you have to do is just come in and just do what you need to do, like so. There we are. So that's our first link done, like so. Now then, the next time we want to place our links together, you can do it this way, or you can open these little guys up each time you do it. All right, so I'm just going to lift those up slightly. There you go, that's better. All right, so it's up to you how you do this. I don't know, how did I do it? I think I did it all at the same time actually, so just going to, you know what, just lift this up slightly so it's got a little bit of an angle on it, and then roundy round and round and abouts. There we are. All right, so you make all of those little links. Yeah, that's how I did it. I remember now. It's a while since I made this actually, so a couple of weeks ago, I think. So all you need to do is to come in with your pliers, like so. Open these up. I mean, you could, if you wanted to, do them as you're going along, but you know, it's up to you. Place your links on, and then literally just pop those back into place, and those are all linked up. All right, so you just continue to do that as you're going along. All right, isn't that pretty? So basically you just keep going and keep going and keep going until you've got all of those links. So these links, you could leave them bare like this with no beads in, or indeed you could pop your beads in before or even after you've made the whole thing. So, you know, they're so versatile, are these links, that it doesn't really matter, does it? So that's the bracelet version. We got there in the end. Let's make these earrings, shall we? These are really, really pretty. Variation on a theme. So same kind of thing. Let's just bring, but I haven't hammered these ones. You can if you want to. And if you don't want to, then you don't have to. So there's 2 ways that you can use these. So you can use them that way up and have the bead on the bottom in between, which is perfect for little drop beads. Or indeed, you could do the other way up and put a little 6mm bead inside. Okay, so let's move these out of the way. So we have our little guys here. All right, so all you need to do is the same thing. Come in with your plier, your 5th step, make your little loop like so, and then come in with your 2nd step, if I can hold that properly. Now instead of going underneath, you want to go over. So if you remember when we made these guys here, when we were making these loops, we went underneath the larger loop. For these, you need to go over the top. All right, so there we go, over the top, like so, over the top, And when you've bent your wire, we don't want it straight, we want it in line with this here. So we don't want it straight like we did with the other one for the bracelet. We want to make this in line with that. So we have that shape instead of that shape. Okay, does that make sense? And we do the same with this one. So holding the pliers a couple of millimeters away, we go over the top instead of underneath. And then this wire in line with that. So that's what we're looking for. That's the shape that we're looking for. Okay, you just need to bend things around a little bit. That's totally fine. So that's the shape that we're looking for. Actually, that looks a little bit like an owl again, doesn't it? I like owls, actually. Owls are cute. All right, so now remembering the 1 centimeter rule, same thing applies that when we are going to be making, let me show you, the smaller of these little loops, it takes about 1 centimeter of wire around the 2 millimeter mandrel. Obviously, all the things that I'm telling you here are based around my mandrel, but don't forget these are just ideas. You can work this out for yourself and make whatever sizes you like, you know, that kind of thing. So we pop our little component against the ruler and just cut off up to 1 centimeter on both sides, like so. Centimeter. There we are. Just get rid of those. Let's get rid of all of this. So you want to make 2 that look like that, obviously, for a pair of earrings. Then we come in with our first mandrel on our plier, and we want to turn them inwards. So in, and in, and turn it over, and then do the same thing. In, and in, like so. And there is our little component for earrings. Now, if you choose to, you can give it a little bit of a hammer like we did with the other, you know, for our bracelet, we gave it a little bit of a hammer. You don't have to. Okay, so you can either then come in with, let me show you, this way up, and you can attach little drop beads if you wanted to. Isn't that sweet? Or you could go the other way around and use a couple of 3 millimeter jump rings and a 4 millimeter jump ring, and wire wrap your bead. Where's that little pearl? Wire wrap your little pearl in there, or your little bead, or whatever it is you want, and make them that way up. So either or, you know, so you can have all sorts, well, actually all sorts. You've got 3 little ways of using these, pretty much using the exact same component, just different, a little bit different as to how you attach them. All right, so I hope you have lots of fun making those. I hope it wasn't too rambly and too and you know, easy to understand, hopefully. And I think these are really, really elegant, don't you think? So have a lot of fun making those, and let me know in the comments how you get on. And if I ramble too much, I apologize. I apologize. I'm just sort of talking off the top of my head. So I'll speak to you in my next video, and have a good week, guys, and I'll speak to you soon.